What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 201 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. And today is going to be a ton of fun. These are always our favorite conversations where we can go anywhere. But we're going to be talking about the Brand Builder Blueprint. And to do that, we got the founder of Brand Builder University, Ben Donovan, joining us. What's up, Ben? How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks. Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to dive into it.
Well, we're excited too. Where are you located?
I'm in the UK, in a city in the north called Manchester. You've probably heard of the football team, or soccer team, probably as you call it.
But definitely heard of Manchester. Awesome, man. Well, and what time is it there? A little afternoon, late afternoon, probably.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Yeah, coffee o'clock.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Well, man, thanks for joining us. We're going to have so much fun just running through all kinds of topics here. But before we jump into that, for people that don't know you, I mean, you've got a lot of content out there. You've got a lot of training and courses and everything. And we'd love to just get a little background on you, how you got into this space, what made you decide to start Brand Builder University. You can take as much time as you want. Well, let's hear a little bit of background on you.
Yeah, how long we got? Geez. Yeah, so I mean, I've done like the classic entrepreneurial stuff, like had businesses since I was at school selling, yo-yos and sweets and all that kind of classic, boring entrepreneurial kind of story. But then I went into real estate when I came out of school. When I was 18, started to make a bit of a career out of that. Kind of realized that I wasn't super passionate about just making money. I wanted to try and do something that was a bit more meaningful. I started doing youth work. I was doing some youth work for a church when I was like early 20s, and that kind of was fun. Took me around the world. I spent a couple of years in Australia doing that. Then came back and did a few bits, and that was all great. It was a very altruistic, I suppose, endeavor, but it wasn't really making me much money. I had kids coming along, and so that all kind of converged onto the point where I realized I didn't want to be working 60, 70, 80 hours a week for just a paycheck. I didn't want to trade my time for money, classic sort of scenario, but I was looking for an opportunity to start something myself. So I tried a bunch of things that were businesses disguised really as jobs, that were just still stuff where I was trading time for money. I was doing sort of a lot of service-based stuff. And then I'm 6'7". You wouldn't see that from me sitting down, but so obviously pretty tall, and I could never find clothes that really would fit me back then, especially back then. It's better these days, but back then there wasn't much around. And so I thought I had this idea where I'm going to start selling like t-shirts for tall guys. But this was 2015. I kind of started down this road, and I just had no idea about business, about product, about marketing, or anything like that. So it was a learning journey, but the product wasn't great. The branding wasn't great. I couldn't really, didn't really sell that many of them because I didn't know how to do marketing. But the good thing about it was I tried to learn how to do that, and that led me to YouTube, of course, which led me to learning about Amazon FBA. I thought only Amazon sold on Amazon, and it was just books. Like a lot of people still think, I think. And but then I saw the opportunity of selling on Amazon. 2017, I think I made my first sale on Amazon. For the next couple of years, very much went down the route. I probably took the wrong course, which we probably won't go into, and started selling random products on Amazon that had the right Jungle Scout metrics, and that kind of thing. And so, which was good. Like we got up to around probably 300 to 400K in revenue after the couple of years there, but was just finding margin compression and wasn't really building anything long term. And then started to sort of follow some more people that were talking a lot more around building a brand, building a business that was an asset, how to grow your team, all this kind of stuff. And just gone on that learning journey really. And then in the last couple of years, really just got a lot more passionate about building brands. So we started like a course for UK sellers, 2019, late 2019, I think it was, early 2020. And so that was designed because there was a lot of American content, which, you guys are amazing. I love you. But there are some nuances to selling as a UK citizen, also on the UK marketplace, that I felt maybe weren't covered. And so I set up that. but then, yeah, it's just kind of evolved a bit into more of me kind of, documenting the journey with the content, but then also, really sharing the more detailed side of that in the training we do for Brand Builder University. Yeah. So feel like I probably rambled on there a bit, but that's kind of the backstory.
It's great. And that's something that we really love about the space. I mean, other people before you provided content that helped you navigate your journey. And you combine that with mistakes and successes that you've made, and now you're doing the same thing for others. I mean, it's a really unique space where you can be a competitor, sort of, but also offering resources and help to others. You don't see that in a lot of businesses, and we love that about sort of this space, because there's billions of products. So and you can't sell all of them. So offering resources that help are amazing. I love it. So go back. We'll go back because there's a lot to unpack in your story. I think it's pretty common. Chris and I started just a little bit before you, following a very similar model. We tried everything: retail arbitrage and OA and flipping stuff on eBay and all the different things you're doing to like little side hustle incomes. And then it was more common back then to just throw products at it. You're doing your research and throwing it. And I did the exact same thing, and it ended up being something that I had to pivot from, because it's you don't really create a brand that well on that. At what point, what year sort of did you transition? What did you do with those old products? Did you stop selling them and focus more on a new brand now, or are they still going?
It stopped. It's a bit of an interesting one, because I said to my business partner the other day, I kind of wish I'd carried on with it, because I probably could have sold it to an aggregator last year who, when they weren't really caring about brands and assets, they just wanted Amazon products, which is but that's it is what it is. So we had basically tested, similar to what you're saying there, tested a whole bunch of different random products, and we'd seen some stick and some not, because that's the nature of doing random products that are a bit unrelated. It's the hit rate is generally a bit lower, and so we were left with mainly selling some toys that had some good traction. And so I had this not epiphany, but sort of probably around 2019 going into 2020, that I really wanted to focus on building an asset, a brand that could be something really significant. And so these it was like in the kind of the STEM learning kind of niche that I'd seen a traction with some of our toys. We had some that weren't really related to that and some that were, but just the way I saw society going, Elon Musk is going to keep building his rockets, coding is going to keep being such a massive part of society, all of these things where I just felt like, man, STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths is such a huge industry that I feel like if we could build a brand that is related to that in the toys or educational learning toy space, I just feel like there's some real good future value on that. And so we had a few similar toys that we looked at and thought, well, I launched these maybe a couple of years ago. They were 4.5 star rated products, good products, but how can we make them better? And basically took similar products and iterated on them and launched them under this new brand. So thinking back, it was probably maybe not the wisest short-term decision, because I left behind some cash flow there, some mature listings, but part of me didn't want to compete with ourselves on those products. Like I say, I've since thought maybe I should have done, just to get the exit on that a while ago. But it's funny, because the reason we were talking about this the other day is we're just doing some keyword research for a new product launch we're about to do. And my business partner, who does all of our research and listings and copywriting and stuff, she sent me like a screenshot of one of the terms, and it was like our old brand, like 2 years later, still got search volume on Amazon. I was like, dang it, that was probably a mistake. But yeah, it was like that was the transition there, and we launched into sort of like completely new, really completely fresh. I kind of wanted to challenge myself as well, document the journey for our community, what it was like to sort of start from scratch. I kind of relished the idea of not doing everything right, because we'll still make mistakes, but getting the foundations set a lot better than trying to navigate that existing stuff. So yeah.
When you started, did you start selling in UK marketplaces, or did you come to North America? What marketplace did you start in?
Yeah, I started in the UK. Yeah,
Got it.
and probably in hindsight, like I would have gone to the US first, but my initial limited understanding was, well, I'm in the UK, so I sell in the UK. I didn't realize just how easy it is to sell in the US. And now I say to most of the guys that come through BBU now, if they're in the UK, definitely look at the US as a priority because, the obvious, the volume there.
And I don't know what somebody has to do to get set up in the US. So if somebody's in the UK and they want to sell in the US, what do they have to do that? I have no idea.
Just open an Amazon account. It's really simple. It's once you've got the legal entity set up, and I always say to UK with the setup in the UK because that is generally for people the most tax and cost efficient. And then it is a case of setting up an account in the US. And then, it depends. Amazon are always sort of changing the goalposts, but occasionally you're going to have to fill in some sort of tax declarations. And, but it's just a few forms, really. It's pretty simple.
It seems easier than the reverse.
I was going to say, only if they made it simpler.
It's trickier for U.S. sellers to expand internationally. I mean, we don't have VAT taxes. We don't have. It seems like it's a little bit more regulated in other marketplaces than it is in the US. The entity that you set up, was it a US business entity or a UK entity?
UK. Yep, UK.
Yeah, see, I mean, it seems so much easier to go that way. It's interesting. Yeah. Well,
there are benefits to the US. Sorry, go on.
No, there are benefits in the US that we said.
Like we've just had to get US-based insurance because there aren't any UK insurers that will insure anymore due to COVID or some rubbish they told me, that they won't insure people selling toys into the US from the UK. So we have to now get insurance in the US. And so we had to get set up with the IRS and all this kind of stuff as a UK company, which it would have been easier if we were a US company. But at the same time, there's swings and roundabouts to everything, and compliance and tax and all that kind of stuff. From what I understand, it's a lot more efficient if you're in the UK to be set up in the UK.
What's your what's the spread of your revenue around the marketplaces? Like, what percentage is the US compared to the UK, and are you selling any others?
Yeah, so the bigger brand that I manage, I'll talk about that separately because that's a bigger sort of maybe case study. This toy brand, we only started, we actually got our first sale just around a year ago, so it's quite new. And so again, we actually started that in the UK. Because like I said, my philosophy on the UK US sort of situation definitely has evolved over the last year because of the stats that have come out and the studies. That there was I think Marketplace Pulse did a study showing that actually the US is the least competitive when you look at it from a volume of, I forget the exact metric they used, but I think it was sellers to buyers was the metric. And actually the US, because of the volume of buyers, is actually less competitive. So, but yeah, initially we did just set up in the UK and then now are expanding into the US. So, but I expect within the next 12 to 18 months that the US will overtake quite a long way the UK because of the products we have and the ones we're launching. They are, the demand is sort of 10x what it is the UK. So
when you do product research, are you looking in both marketplaces, UK and US, or do you decide what marketplace you want to go in first and go from there? Like what's your product research method look like?
I think it's a bit of both. Again, owing to that sort of updated philosophy, I suppose, I definitely will now always start in the US. For us as a brand, the US is going to become more and more the key marketplace for us. And so, I'm always now starting there. I think in the past, I definitely would have started in the UK. I think there is something to that. Obviously, I understand the marketplace. I understand the people, understand the culture, the language. It's obviously the same language, but there's like these nuances that maybe other people coming in don't quite as much. So I think there are some benefits to that. But yeah, definitely now, US is the first one I'm looking at.
When you're looking for a product, everybody's got their own criteria, and everybody uses tools and whatnot. They're doing how many reviews and price point. What are some of your criteria points you look at, especially when looking for a new product? What are some things that are like that they have to have this before we go forward with it?
They have to have good search volume for specific terms that relate to the product, not generic broad terms, but that clearly describe the product. And then I just need to be able to do a better job at solving the customer's pain point than the competition. For me, that's what it comes down to. I mean, inside Brandville University, I teach this thing, what I call it the product potency formula. It's like a fancy name for trying to sort of explain a bit of a system. But of course, there is demand and competition in that as the first couple of steps. And I teach that to all new sellers, because when you're new to the e-commerce and selling online, you don't understand marketing as well and product positioning, and those are metrics that help you get into areas that are going to enable you to compete. But for me, the biggest area is differentiation, which is like the third step of what we teach, is their ability to differentiate. And I think that especially in 2022 and beyond, the opportunity is not how do I find something that's selling a buttload of product but also has no reviews. Like that's, Amazon is a more mature marketplace, as you guys know, now than it was even 3-4 years ago. So those opportunities really are few and far between, which obviously will put some people off, and that's fine. But if you are serious about building a real business, the opportunity to create a good product that differentiates from the competition and stands out, there's still just as much opportunity as ever. So yeah, for me, those two things for our own brand is clear search demand, and then are there clear opportunities for me to do something that stands out. Like if everyone's already done all of the differentiation that you could do, I'd probably give that a miss. But if there are opportunities to really not only differentiate, but be able to communicate that differentiation clearly to win the click in search results, to get the conversion, then that's a big key for me.
So does the competitiveness of the market bother you if you feel like you can differentiate, or do you see that as an advantage? I mean, would you stay away from something because it's super competitive, but you feel like you have an opportunity to do something different?
I think my personal belief is it depends on the stage of the journey you're at. Like I have confidence now in my ability to rank products on Amazon, to be able to differentiate, source well, all of those kind of things. Where the more you learn, I think the process of the business, selections, sourcing, and then launching products. For me, I look at we're launching a product in the next couple of weeks once I get it through US Customs, which has been stuck in for a month. And I just been today charged $300 for the privilege of them inspecting my product for me. So thanks US Customs for that. But yeah,
not our fault. We didn't do it. Don't
rubbish.
I just thought it's funny. Like it's like you guys wanted to inspect my products and you're charging me for your. I mean, I should have. That's just normal. It's normal, I know, but it's never going to get any easier. But yeah, so I forgot my rage kind of clouded what I was talking about there.
Well, it's so funny that you bring that up because it seems like you had a similar journey. But I mean, my first product was resistance bands way back in the day, workout resistance bands, and it's like you would never probably go into that right now. And of course, all the same things you touched on, margins got squeezed. I mean. And then everybody differentiated. I mean, everyone there was like cloth resistance bands that don't stick, huge packs for cheaper. I mean, it became impossible. I had to, back out of that entirely. And that might be something you're talking about. Like, okay, everybody's already done all the differentiators in that. That might be come off your criteria. But that's what you're looking for. Is you're looking for something that's got demand, but you have this ability to create this new thing that's an improvement. And there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. Ben, you mentioned like you're not afraid to go into a saturated market now because you have a marketing background, you know how to rank products, you know the listing optimization, but all those things that now you had to learn at some point.
Yeah,
and you had to get those dialed in first before you would go into a seriously saturated niche.
For sure, yeah, and so that's why anyone's starting out. Like I'm doing some one-on-one work with a few people at the moment, and we are looking for stuff that does have lower competition. I'm not saying you should completely disregard it. You certainly can't look for stuff that's doing 10,000 a month in revenue and under 50 reviews anymore. Like reviews are easier to get now, and the thresholds have got to be higher, and you have to look beyond just those simple metrics. But I think you should still take them into account for sure. But yeah, like I'm, by far and away still got a lot to learn, and I'm not the perfect, the best seller out there, but I think just a little bit of self-confidence in, in the product, but also I think just in the long-term nature of what you're trying to build. I think when I started out, I was so short-term in my mindset, and that was, a real hindrance to me. But now I think that, I'm willing to go 6, 12, 18 months without taking money out of a product in order to get it launched, established on Amazon, because I know the long-term rewards are there. So I think that's a benefit as well. But I think when you're looking at stuff that's really often, if it's really competitive, then often there's a lot of demand for it as well. And so this is why it comes back to search terms and understanding the search term outlook, because if there are thousands of different search terms and there are high volume search terms that have got low competition, then you can make sales on those. You don't even have to worry about those head keywords that are highly competitive, that are maybe searched 50 to 100,000 times a month. You can find 10 to 20, 2 to 3,000 search terms that you can target that are much easier to make sales on, and you can slowly build up momentum that way. And so, yeah, like we've launched products in competitive markets already with this brand and seen sales pick up pretty quickly because of the differentiation and because, of that just understanding of what the customer's looking for.
You mentioned search volume there on some keywords. What is your parameters? Do you have to have 10 to 15 search terms, have at least 5,000 searches a month before you go into a product, or there needs to be more than just a few search terms for one product? Like, when you're looking at search terms, what is the sweet spot there?
I don't have any set metrics. I think I would definitely look at it like on a case-by-case basis personally. But I do think that the biggest thing, rather than for me personally, than a number of them, it would be that there would be a range. And when I say range, for me, 20 or 30 more than 500 searches a month, I would say something in that region. Of course, it depends on your budget, right? Because if you've only got $2,000 or $3,000 to invest in inventory, you don't want to go for something with crazy high search volume, because that is gonna, you're gonna struggle to keep that in stock. But if you've got a bit more budget, then if you can find 20 to 30 keywords that do specifically describe your product, and for me that is the important thing, because I have struggled long and hard with PPC and trying to rank on, gift keywords, or obviously we're in toys. They're just like toys for boys, toys for girls, those kind of generic keywords, fitness products for men, gifts for dad, all that kind of stuff is super hard to rank profitably because of the generic nature of the term. So you need to, because we've got some toys that are like construction toys, building toys, that kind of thing, but there's not really any other specific terms that could be used to describe them, and because of that, they don't get anywhere near as much sales as the products that do have recognized describing names that aren't maybe like a brand name.
What about product price? I know, like back in the day, they say keep it 25 and under, fits in a shoebox, less than a pound, all that kind of good stuff. I probably wouldn't do that now, but where are you looking at product price?
I'm very flexible. We just soon launching a product that'll be around $12, $13, but we're sourcing it for $1, and it's like an accessory add-on, and it's pretty small and light to ship. So I'm happy to do that. We've also got in production one that will sell for sort of 60 to 80, depending on how high we can get it. So I think there's benefit at both ends of the spectrum. The higher end, as everyone probably already knows, there's less competition because usually there's less competition because less people can afford the unit cost to get going, and there's more budget to play with stuff like PPC, so it should generally be more profitable. But I think people underestimate the lower end. I think everyone has heard, it's got to be at least $15, $20 so that you can make money on it. But you can make money on low price products as long as you understand the metrics, as long as you understand the unit economics. I think they're some of the best products, because the return on investment you can get for a new seller, if you want to scale quickly, they definitely should be looking in the lower price range. Source at $1 to $2, sell for $12 to $15. You can get 200+% ROI on that, and you may not be making much profit dollar wise, but you'll be making good ROI that you can then quickly turn that cash around and grow the sales and invest in, higher priced products. So I think I like both ends of the spectrum.
It's probably good for a new seller to do a lower end and get in there. Somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing yet, they kind of want to learn the process. Get in there and just at least figure out how to create a shipment, right?
Yeah,
and list a product, because those are two things that are going to be completely different anyway.
For sure.
It's so interesting. Well, I want to go back again to focusing on, because you made a transition to deciding, okay, I want to build a brand. I want to have a brand asset. And that's a different mindset. That's different. You're shifting. I mean, immediately your product research gets shrunk into a niche. And now you're trying to sort of figure out your customer avatar. How do you speak to them? It becomes much more of a marketing angle, where the product research and all that stuff almost follows that flow. So when you made that decision, what were the first things that you'd have to, if you're deciding, okay, right now I'm going for a brand, how do you start? What's the first part? And then we can sort of kind of walk through that.
For sure. I think the biggest thing of all of it is understanding your customer. And that sounds a bit twee and that's nice, but truly understanding their pain points and how your products can solve those pain points is the single biggest issue, because that's defines how you're going to communicate about your products. It defines how you're going to, which products, of course, you're going to launch. It determines your wider branding beyond Amazon. It defines so much of what you do. So I think, for us, understanding who the specific person was, and that's obviously the specific person that's buying your products as well as using, which is going to be the same person for a lot of people. For us, it wasn't. With toys, it's not the kid that we're marketing to; it's the parent. And specifically, we discovered really it's 90% of the people that buy our products are the mums of the kids, and so we then had to really understand that. And we're in a fortunate position that my business partner is a mum herself. I'm married to a woman who is a mum, and so they are. That is the kind of the frontage of our branding, is like this brand was founded by a mum partnership. Like, obviously I'm involved and in the background, but we don't sort of talk about that loads, because it's like, well, these mums were obviously part of the journey, but they had a passion to launch this business and really trying to then communicate to that target market.
So you figured this out. That's the market you're going to. And then what about even something as simple as coming up with a brand name? How important do you feel like that name is? And all the things you have to go through, obviously trademarking them and making sure no one else has them, and making sure you don't do what I did and use a brand name that you end up getting sued for later on. As you try to do all the things right, you jump through that. But what's that process look like? Just brainstorming a brand name and then coming up with the look of the logo and color scheme. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, because it's got to be consistent.
Yeah, it does. And like, I think that's something we're still trying to work on improving. The consistency and the brand image, etc., etc. I think brand name is both important and not, and that obviously sounds like a contradiction, but I'm a perfectionist by nature, which is definitely a strength in business, but a massive weakness at times. And so, we kind of ached over how do we brand it, how do we name it, that kind of thing. But I think one of the biggest things Amazon sellers, need to be aware of is that, it needs, I think, brand names on Amazon, you really need to work hard to make them short, just because Amazon are enforcing like the brand name at the front of the title even more. And I think that's going to take up characters, and people can come up with this like 3 or 4 word long brand name. And then if Amazon forces you to put that at the front of your title, you're screwed, So we wanted, like, it's got, the brand name has got STEM in the actual brand name, because we wanted it to be, really clear what this was about. And so for us, like, brand name was important, but at the same time, I think that a new seller should focus on taking action and taking steps forward than agonizing over the perfect brand name. Your first brand name, your first product. It might not be the last. You might change it in the future. You might update it. But yeah, I think taking action, and as you said, one of the biggest things is just the ability to trademark it, which naturally is getting harder and harder because of all of the people starting businesses. But I think that's where you just got to get a bit creative and misspell a word or something, you know.
It's harder too if you're trying to go short. There's less.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, and that's why obviously you see a bunch of Chinese brands that are just like they've mashed the keyboard with their fingers.
And somehow they sell a ton, right?
Like, I know. It's like random letters. It makes no sense.
I think there's something going on behind the curtain there.
Yeah. I think there's something to that, though. It does there is, brands are super important, obviously, for retention and for, the ability to go outside of the Amazon channel. But to some degree, shoppers are not super brand centric on Amazon.
Yeah. And that's a big argument, right? In the Amazon community is one person will say brand is really important. Like I'm good friends with a guy called Ben Leonard. He founded this company called Beast Gear. You guys, you know him.
Yeah, he's been on the show a couple times.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a legend. And he is like the biggest advocate for brand. And I'm just like, yes, come on, this is good. And then you'll talk to someone like Kevin King, like Amazon FBA, Mr. Amazon FBA himself. And like he's starting to say is more now, but that's probably a bad example. But like you'll talk to another Amazon seller, and they'll just say, search terms on Amazon, meeting that demand with products. Don't even worry about a website. Don't worry about social media. Don't waste your time building brand. And, I respect both of the people that are saying that. I just tend to fall in the camp of, I think for me, the bigger opportunity is building an asset that's beyond just the cash flow on Amazon. And yes, there are aggregators right now that love the idea of just Amazon-centric sales. I think you open up for more potential value and more potential buyers of your business in the future if you do have a cohesive brand. And I like the idea of just doing something that's a bit more impactful than just selling products on Amazon, right?
Yeah. I just want to touch on one thing before you jump in, Chris, because that's what's changed the most since, we started a while ago. But what's changed most is the awareness that your biggest revenue day is going to be the day you exit.
Yeah.
That is a way bigger than all your cash flow. And so thinking long-term, thinking about what the end game looks like, that's where the brand center. I mean, if you love this and you want to be in it day to day for the rest of your life, throw products out there. But if you're looking to exit at some point, that's going to be the game. That's the game changer.
I think so.
Yeah.
Go
I was just going to say on the versus brand, no brand. I mean, looking back, when I started selling, I came up with the brand name first and then started selling products within that niche. But if I had to do it again, there's been a method out there. We had somebody on the show talking about the 3x2, where they just pick 3 products, throw them up on Amazon, source 3 products, low quantity order that you get, see what sticks, see what sells well, and then just rinse and repeat. And then at some point when you get 10 products, figure out what niche you want to be in, and then that create a brand within that niche. And you've already got, a small handful of products that you're already selling, and you can liquidate the other ones if they're not doing really well and go all in that particular niche. So Ben, you correct me if I'm wrong. I know there's different opinions here, but I would just start selling something and get them in there and get something going, get something moving, learn the process, and then, make up a name just so you can have a listing created. And then from there, find out what you're passionate about selling, and then you go all in with trademarking it, get the URL, get a logo, colors, all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's kind of what I did, right? I tested a lot of different niches and products and just threw a load of stuff up there. And then I was like, hey, actually, I love the impact we can make with these toys. And I think we could create a great brand out of it, and then doubled down on that. And so that's the exact path I took. I think there are some unique challenges if someone's to take that route today, because it is different now with obviously Amazon are pretty hot on when you create new listings without brand registry. There are some challenges that come with that. They're not insurmountable, but and the protection that brand registry gives you with the trademark and all of those kind of things is something to consider. But I think most people when starting out there, you definitely don't need to go out there and build a huge following on social media and build the most amazing website, and you can learn that stuff as you go, for sure.
Yeah.
Something I love talking about here is ranking and like ranking a product, because it's a science, right? Like you gotta have a ranking strategy. You got to figure out how you're going to launch a product. You know, it's getting a little bit harder now. There's still some things you can still do, but you know, a lot of things have changed. When you launch, you're getting ready to launch a product. What's the strategy? What's the process? You don't have to give me a whole thing, but like, what are some things you got lined up ahead of time so that when that product goes live, you can hit the gas and start running?
Yeah, so a few things. Like, obviously we want to make the most of like the honeymoon period, as this as it's called. So we've kind of put out, or like our launch dates, release dates of the new products back to now, rather than when we created the listing. So there's talk of that in the Amazon community being like an impacting factor. I don't know yet. This is the first time I've done that. So we'll see. And there's obviously no real way to split test that, so you don't really know. But there's theory that is definitely worth doing. So we've done that. We used to do rebates until obviously that kind of got outlawed a few months ago. And so I love that strategy, because we would run mini chat flows and it would build our list at the same time as launching the products. And I just thought it was a dream strategy. But obviously I think there are still people doing it, but I just don't have the guts to kind of carry on with that. So our strategy will just be super aggressive on pricing, targeting keywords in our title that not many other products have in their title, so that we can rank quickly for those keywords, and then run in some Google ad traffic as well.
Google ad, that's another one.
Yeah, let's touch on that.
That's big. External traffic, all the brand referral programs that are out there. Do you have any sort of technique or strategy with those Google ads? Like, what kind of keywords you're targeting? Are they the same as your Amazon ones, or are they different? A lot of times you'll hear people say, like, if it's a resistance bands Amazon, or resistance bands Amazon Prime, because weirdly people start their Amazon search sometimes on Google. I don't know why, but it's a lot of low-hanging fruit there. What kind of tactics are you using around Google ads?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is theory. I don't want to claim like this is an amazing strategy that works, because this is the first time we're deploying this particular strategy. But yeah, so just the same terms as on Amazon. No particular Google strategy with that. It's just about getting that traffic on to the listing for highly relevant, making sure obviously that they're highly relevant. So we are only doing exact match because from experience with Google ads in non-e-commerce stuff, that the broad match is very broad, and so we want to make sure we're targeted. So exact match, playing up the Amazon side of it, because if you're running Google ads, the link will appear as Amazon, and people will think it's Amazon running that ad. And so playing that up with Prime and free shipping, and having Amazon, you've got your Amazon link there, and that kind of thing. So yeah, just really playing on that and making sure we're doing a promotion on it, like 50% off or 80% off or whatever I can stomach. Like I say, I was chatting to Kevin King the other day on my podcast, and he was saying, if you're going to sell at $30, then you should sell it at $3 in your launch. And I'm just like, okay.
That's amazing. That's something he's doing. That he's launching products.
I mean, he says he is, but I don't know how much, like, how much he actually is discounted. I don't know, but I think the theory obviously is you would have rebated that product anyway. So what's the difference between driving it that low? Which I get, it's funny, isn't it? It's just such a psychological difference, but in essence, it's the same. If anything, you're $3 better off. But
that's actually really interesting.
Yeah,
you would.
I'm gonna try, somewhat aggressive. Like, part of me thinks, I wonder if I could get away with, just covering costs. Maybe I could sell at $15 when our target price is $30. Surely that would be attractive enough. And obviously he's talking in the context of maybe going really foot to the floor, massive launch. We've got 1,000 units of this product, and so I don't want to sell 500 in week one. So I might start at maybe $15 and then grow it from there.
Do you use anything inside Seller Central to help facilitate the launch?
In terms of like coupons and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like all those other things. They got the Vine. They got are anything there you use?
Yeah, so I forget which country calls it which, coupons and vouchers. I think we in the UK call it vouchers, you call it coupons. Anyway, yeah, we always do those because on search results, when you launch a product with no reviews, you're going to be at a disadvantage just because you've got no reviews. You need to give the customer a reason to click on your listing, and that coupon on the results page is one reason. It's not always the strongest, obviously. Reviews can be more, but so yeah, I will do like 15% and 10%. Sorry, $15, say, for instance, price, and then 10% coupon on there. I'm thinking about, I'm always nervous about Vine. Like, I've never done the early reviewer program, but that's obviously not around anymore. But I'm just nervous about Vine because I just feel like if there's a box that's broken, that's completely out of my control. We've created a great product, but there are things that are outside of my control. I just feel like if they tank it because of that one thing.
I talked to another seller, and I was like, yeah, I just use Vine to get reviews. He's like, look, they're conditioned to be super analytical about your product and like and look at your product. And if anything is wrong with it, like you just said, like the box shows up damaged, ding, you get a 1-star review. He's like, so it's a dangerous game to play because if something goes wrong, like it can ruin the review, and they always stick at the top because they got the Vine reviewer thing. So I'm with you. I've heard both sides. Like, yeah, be cautious because their mind is like conditioned to be the people in the Vine program. They got to be looking at your product, and they're going to tear it apart.
They're professional reviewers.
Exactly.
I've had good Vine launches and bad ones.
It really pisses me off when I get a 1-star. I'm like, you got the product for free.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay for it. Like when they mention the price, they're like, oh, the price is too expensive. I'm like, you didn't pay for it.
A Vine reviewer mentioned the price. That is outrageous.
I was like, what the hell? Report abuse.
Oh,
it's so funny though, because it's like if you've got 100 reviews, a 1-star review doesn't bother you. But man, when it's the first one or the second,
killer.
Like what? It's so hard after that. I feel like.
And every day that you don't get another one, it just makes it, you're just going down the ranking.
It takes about 10 5-star reviews to get it above 4 stars
it's
again.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. What about PPC for your launches? What are you doing there?
So initially, the initial sort of 2 to 3 week period, just targeting highly relevant phrases, just to ensure that Amazon algorithm understands the product, understands the keywords. I think for more common keywords and products, that's a little bit easier. If it's super niche and different, then I think that's even more important. But yeah, so 2 to 3 weeks, we will do like a targeted list of around 10 phrases. Exact match, good sort of volume, and then have individual campaigns for in each like the title of the product. We will have sort of 3 to 4 phrases that have got a very low title density or the low amount of other people that have got that particular phrase in their title, and so each individual keyword will go in its own separate campaign just for the launch to really give it some power, because the aim would be to ensure we rank for those 3 or 4 keywords right off the bat, but then set up a more long-term structure after that that's a little bit more automated, which you guys would, I'm sure, be the masters of.
We can help anybody do that if they want it. Yeah.
What is your sort of structure in terms of like most recommended? Do you like search term isolation and that kind of stuff, or?
Well, we can do anything. That's the nice part of our structure, is you can do anything. But typical would be sort of a keyword harvesting funnel. Whether you're going, from an auto campaign to a broad to an exact, and we're funneling those through to get you to those exact matches. You can do all the things that you were talking about, launch campaigns with, a couple of your most relevant search terms. You can put a top of search multiplier on there, an aggressive target ACoS to make sure that you get that launch. We can automate any structure that you're wanting to set up.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a little bit sort of controlling with it, and I probably too much, because I struggle with the idea of using auto then broad then exact. I do, that's what I'm using at the moment, but I just like, I feel like it's not complete control over the keyword funnel, you know? But
Yeah.
have you guys tested adding in a phrase step to that? Or is
Oh
that too
yeah,
much?
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. There's no preset structure that we're defining through our platform.
You don't have to. We're not pausing your existing campaigns and making you start over.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do.
You can do. And it's more probably automated is probably not the right word. Like it's designed. Like you can design your own system you want, and then automate those structures that you got set up.
Yeah.
It's not a here's what we got, and you have to use this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot you can do with it.
I just wondered from like a theory standpoint, if like adding a phrase sort of level into that system is a bit, because sometimes I thought maybe it's a bit overkill, you know, but it's like you have literal complete control, because I can negative phrase in my broad, and then I can negative exact in my phrase, and it's just like the OCD dream. But then I'm like, am I just stifling the algorithm a bit here, you know?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of different opinions on all of that. You dive into murky waters when you start talking about strategy.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that it's testing. That's what you're doing. You test, it works or it doesn't work, and you pivot and you test, and it works or it doesn't work. And Amazon's changing all the time. Their relevancy, how that's the relevancy score they're giving your product on keywords is evolved. You see a lot more people launch campaigns and get like no impressions now because Amazon's not going to show it. They don't think it's relevant. So they're not even showing it. They used to just take your money, and now they're not even showing it, which, you have to go back and test. Maybe my listing's not highlighting that it's relevant towards this keyword. There's a lot of playing around with it that I think is critical. But I think to your point, in terms of launch, when you're launching, your goal is not profitability.
Yeah.
It's how are you moving up? Are we ranking? And there's so many variables in that, the competitiveness of it. It's the difficult conversation that we have is when someone says, "Oh, I just want a low ACOS." It's like, oh,
yeah, don't we all?
Yeah. Oh, well, your product's $10 and the average bid is like $250. So I don't know if that's gonna really. I don't know how low you think you can get it. And like, what's your strategic goal? But yeah, I think there's a lot of testing involved. Ben, this is a conversation we could do this for about 4 hours. I feel like, and not even scratch the surface. So. You are not going to be the only Ben from the UK who's been on our podcast just once. We're going to have you multiple times for sure. So we'll get you back on at some point in the future. And we'll just dive in to a little bit more on all these different topics. It's fun. But for anybody who's listening right now, obviously you're very real. You're putting out everything that worked, everything that didn't work for you, and that's an unbelievable resource for people that are. I mean, how nice is it to hear somebody else's mistake? That's so much more valuable. It's so much more valuable than someone just telling you got to do this. This is the panacea. This is what's going to work. It's way better to hear like, I screwed this up. That's nice. People that want to follow your content, maybe work with you on training or consulting or anything that you offer, how can they reach out to you and contact you?
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say all those things. The best place is just the website, brandbuilderuni.com. There's links there we've got some free training if you're just getting started. We've got coaching, mentoring, and we've got a whole bunch of content. We're working hard to try and create some, more like written content. We want to try and do a lot more of that, which seems to be getting some good traction and people are liking that. And then YouTube, all the links to everything else is from the website. So definitely check it out.
Excellent. Everyone go check them out right now, brandbuilderuni.com. And just take in all his content and contact him if you're wanting to look for more with Ben. Ben, thanks so much, man. This has been awesome. We really, really appreciate it. And everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for listening to this. If you like content like this, if you want more, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. You can see all the live streams on Solozo's social media platforms LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. They're all there. So go there and subscribe as well. Turn on notifications so you get notified when we go live. And if you want to take a deeper dive into all the things that we were talking about, we just skimmed over it, how Solozo can help you automate whatever your strategy is. We'd love to show it to you. Go to Solozo.com. You can book a demo. We'll talk about anything. We'll take a look at your listings. We'll take a look at everything with you just to make sure it's going to be a right fit for you. We love having those conversations. So go to Solozo.com and book a demo. We'll be talking to you really soon. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Ben, thanks for